What's going on, guys? Bengal again here, coming back at you with another video. And today we're redrafting the 2021 NFL draft. And this is a hard one because, one, this is not going to age well. This is a video that's not going to age well because more players are going to end up being great or not so good. Right now, we only know what we know based off of their rookie seasons. So some of these picks will end up inevitably staying the same, because those picks were made at the time for good reason in the case of a lot of these quarterbacks where you're betting on them to develop. But here we are in the redraft. Let's just say Trevor Lawrence ends up not being good. Well, obviously 3 years from now it could change who would actually go number one overall. So that's what makes this fun. I would say the best player so far in this draft has been Micah Parsons, was unbelievable as a rookie. And then on offense, probably Jamar Chase. But how early does a receiver go, especially when these teams are quarterback needy? But let's go ahead and start with the Jaguars after a very quick word from the sponsor. This video is sponsored by Mack Weldon, and I'm passionate about this. I know this is going to seem ridiculous. It is an ad read for Mack Weldon, but I truly am passionate because I wear Mack Weldon stuff literally every day. Right now, I'm rocking the grays, but I got the khaki version. I got the blue if I'm feeling adventurous. Listen, I went in to a dress code restaurant where you needed to wear a nice pair of pants, collared shirt, whatever. It was a nice night, whatever. Listen, these are sweatpants. They're the most comfortable sweatpants I've worn, but they look like a pair of khakis. No one's gonna think twice. They are like thin enough so that they look like a nice dress pant, but they're so comfortable. They're insulating as well, but they're still breathable. I don't know how they do it over at Mack Weldon, but I don't know if you can feel the passion coming through. I think Mack Weldon sweatpants and all their line of products are absolutely fantastic. Recently, I tried out the new Oxford button-up, which I'm a big fan of, but I do have to say my all-time favorites are going to be the Ace sweatpants. They're just in a league of their own in terms of sweatpants. And I know it seems like an exaggeration and a stretch, like these stretchy sweatpants. You like that? But no, they really are unbelievable. The website's super easy to use as well, and you can find out just how easy when you go to mackweldon.com/Bengal YouTube. Spell it out, Bengal, B-E-N-G-A-L, YouTube. You know how to spell that. And enter code Bengal YouTube. So find your perfect look and feel this spring. mackweldon.com/Bengal YouTube. And thanks to Mack Weldon for sponsoring the video. All right, Jags on the clock. I'm going to keep this the same. We're going to go Trevor Lawrence at number one. He went number one for a reason. He's one of the best quarterback prospects in a fairly decent amount of time. I don't know if you can go all the way back to 2012 Andrew Luck, but it's around that. Trevor Lawrence, great size, mobility, arm, processing, all pretty good. And he made that really bad Jags O-line actually not seem as bad last year. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence, I think, has to stay the number one overall pick. And kind of along the same logic, I am going to take Zach Wilson at 2. For these teams that need a quarterback, we're just not going to go a different direction and keep putting that off. So when there are so many good quarterbacks available, we are going to go quarterback. So Zach Wilson to the Jets. I'm probably going to stay Trey Lance to the Niners as well. And I know it's boring. 3 picks, all the same so far. But things are going to start to move. And I really think the Falcons should be in play for Justin Fields here. And Kyle Pitts was great for the Falcons. He really, really was. He was incredible for a rookie tight end. But what's the value there? It's really tough to say. And based on what we know now of the Falcons roster, they traded Matt Ryan away. They really could use a quarterback. And yes, Justin Fields didn't look great as a rookie. I think we have to consider, one, he was a rookie quarterback. And we've been spoiled lately with younger QBs just going off. I still think Justin Fields could end up being an amazing player, but based off of him being in an offense with Matt Nagy and limited weapons in that offense, like Allen Robinson, I think is great, but just wasn't really meshing in that Chicago Bears offense. Minimal targets compared to years past. Darnell Mooney's a great deep threat, but he's not all the way there yet. I just don't know if we can really say that, Justin Fields is not going to be good after one season. I think it's ridiculous. So for the Falcons, with Kyle Pitts on the board, with Jamar Chase, with Micah Parsons, with all these great players, I am going to go quarterback because I think they should have done it last year. And Justin Fields would be easily the best quarterback in this year's draft class in 2022. I think at number 4, it is tremendous value to get Justin Fields. And the Falcons really do need a quarterback. So to me, that makes sense. But you could make an argument for a number of different guys at that spot. whether it's Micah Parsons, whether it's Patrick Surtain, whether it's Jamar Chase, or keeping it Kyle Pitts. But I am going to go Justin Fields because quarterback is just so important, and Fields to me has a ton of potential. And quarterbacks are flying off the board. And for guys like Mac Jones, who played really well last year, and Davis Mills, who played really well based on what you kind of thought you would get out of him. Like, these guys they're going to end up being first-round picks. Mac Jones obviously was in real life. And for the Bengals, I think they're fortunate that Jamar Chase is still available. Was very close to being my guy at number 4, but I think he does end up slipping to 5 here just because of the value associated with the quarterback position. Chase absolutely had to be the guy. And then for the Dolphins, that leaves the offensive tackles available. And yes, they signed Teron Armstead in free agency now. It's kind of weird because we have to go with current knowledge plus past knowledge and weigh each accordingly. But Rashawn Slater was an all-pro tackle as a rookie. I mean, pretty unbelievable. So for me, he has to be the guy for the Dolphins. And it's amazing that arguably the best player in the entire draft last year, going back now, Micah Parsons as like an edge rusher, is still available at 7, but this is going to be where he ends up going, to the Lions at 7. Now, you could say the Bengals need offensive line, but they signed La'el Collins. Jamar Chase was just so good for them last year. I think, yeah, now that we saw how amazing that combo was with Joe Burrow again, the LSU connection, it made sense to keep it the same. But I think this probably should be Micah Parsons, just best player available for a not-so-great team. And again, it's amazing that he would fall to 7 in this, but it's just all these teams need quarterback. I can't split up Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow after 2021, and the Dolphins really need offensive line to build around Tua or whoever their future quarterback ends up being. I wasn't going to go edge in that spot. So Micah falls to 7, and yes, I do acknowledge how amazing he was last season playing as more of a true edge, but he falls to 7, and it's just the Lions getting lucky as we get to the Panthers at 8. This isn't really a tough decision either. Like, maybe you'd think about Kyle Pitts at 8 here, but for me, this has to be Penei Sewell. Panthers' offensive line is really not good. Yes, this also could be Mac Jones. Totally could get on board with that. But Penei Sewell started to look really good as a left tackle at times last year, and the Panthers really need a left tackle. They can't have Cam Irving starting at that position, so Penei Sewell for me is the easy, clear-cut guy. I think we'll keep this the same for the Broncos as well. Yes, no more Noah Fant. I think Kyle Pitts could be in play, but Patrick Surtain was just so amazing last year for the Broncos. Kind of an underrated guy. He was definitely the second best defensive rookie last year, in my opinion. Got to be a top 10 pick, and yeah, the Broncos are going to keep this the same. So we have several picks staying the same so far. Lawrence to the Jags, Wilson to the Jets, Lance to the Niners, Chase to the Bengals, and now Surtain to the Broncos. But, you know, some of these teams definitely did make the right selection. As we get to the Cowboys, who are in a really interesting spot with Kyle Pitts available, with Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith available if they wanted to go with a corner in J.C. Horn or Eric Stokes here, or Greg Newsome, who is arguably the best corner of this bunch still remaining. Like, that's definitely in play as well. The Cowboys could take a lot here. Could take an edge rusher. Jalen Phillips was really, really good. I think he could be in play here at 10. It's tough for the Cowboys. They could really go a number of different directions here. I'm going to go Kyle Pitts just because he was so amazing as a tight end, and the Cowboys could use an upgrade at the position. Like, yes, they do have Dalton Schultz. He's playing under the franchise tag, so it's really 1 year right now. Maybe wouldn't even be on the team. But with Kyle Pitts, they get just a versatile weapon at tight end, and they can move him all around the field to create mismatches. And I just really think it's a good fit for the offense. And yeah, does he go at number 4? I don't think so, just given the other talent and needs, because it's tough to rationalize a top pick with a tight end, right? But he's just a little bit more than a traditional tight end, of course. And I think it well warrants a top 10 pick. And now you could say, oh, Bengal just set this up so the Giants could get Jalen Waddle. Well, I didn't, but that is a thing that's happening right here. I love Jalen Waddle. Here he is to my Giants at 11. I think it could absolutely happen. Now, remember, they traded back with the Bears, who moved up for Justin Fields, and the Giants took Kadarius Toney. Wide receiver is a need. So is offensive line, and there are some really good offensive linemen available. Elijah Vera Tucker, Landon Dickerson, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith at interior offensive line. All could be first-round guys here. And at tackle, Darisaw, Tevin Jenkins maybe. Spencer Brown played real well at right tackle. This is really tough because the Giants do have a number of different needs here. Even corner. But I think I am going to go Jalen Waddle just because he is the best player available to me at this point. And sometimes that's where you have to go. As we go to the Eagles at 12, and I'm going to keep this the same as well and go with Devontae Smith. Again, it's just a selection I think makes a ton of sense. The Chargers actually get really, really tough here because we know in free agency they've shored up a number of positions like corner, like edge, with trading for Khalil Mack, with defensive tackles, signing Austin Johnson, Sebastian Joseph Day. You know, the Chargers have really done a lot, but what they haven't done is really secure the tackle position outside of Rashawn Slater. But in this, as we know, Rashawn Slater goes at number 6 overall. So to me, yeah, there are some better players available, but for the Chargers, I think we absolutely have to draft based on need. And it's going on the offensive line. I think it has to be a tackle. Now, there are some guys with tackle flexibility on the O-line, like Elijah Vera Tucker and Trey Smith, and who they were great last year. But for me, I think I have to go Christian Darisaw to play left tackle. I think he's got to be the one. Probably going a little bit earlier than he should. And that's not to say he was bad as a rookie, right? But it's just wasn't nearly as good as Rashawn Slater, and who could have been. Rashawn Slater was on a different level. But we'll get to the Vikings at 14. And they're in a similar situation where their pick's off the board in Christian Darisaw. Although I do think we could look on the interior here. Go with Vera Tucker, Landon Dickerson, Creed Humphrey. Even though they don't really need a center so much. Trey Smith. But I'm going to end up going corner, and I'm going to take Greg Newsome. He was so amazing last year, and I don't think enough people were talking about him with the Browns. Greg Newsome was incredible. Really good prospect as well coming out of Northwestern. I think the big issue with him was just staying healthy, and he stayed healthy, and he was really, really good. And the Vikings, who desperately need corner, I think could definitely take Greg Newsome. Yes, they still need tackle, but it's a tough spot because you can't address every position of need with just one pick. So you have to go with the best player for some of those positions of need. And I think Greg Newsome made a ton of sense there. And we'll go Mac Jones to the Patriots as well. Again, I just think it makes a ton of sense because he was there last year. He ran the offense pretty well, had some real good games. And it just, again, it makes the most sense for me here. But there are so many good players that are just dropping due to either positional value, injury in some cases with J.C. Horn, or, you know, other teams needing to take different guys. And for the Cardinals, we're going to stop the fall of one of the better players in the entire draft, and that's Jalen Phillips. They need to replace Chandler Jones somehow. We know that, of course, he went to the Raiders in free agency, and getting this big-time edge rusher who was so great for the Dolphins last year when he was on the field, put up like 8+ sacks, didn't play, you know, every snap for the team, but was really impactful when he did play. And, you know, 8+ sacks for a rookie, I think, is really, really solid, even in 17 games. As we get to the Raiders at 17, who took a big-time reach in real life, or Alex Leatherwood, played him at some tackle, some guard, and we're just going to go best offensive lineman available, which you can make a really good argument for a number of different players at this spot, based on how good Creed Humphrey was. They don't really need a center as bad as they need guard and tackle. I don't really love the tackles here, but I really do like the interior offensive lineman. For me, it's tough between Trey Smith and AVT. I am going to go with Elijah Vera Tucker at 17, and I don't think the Raiders would complain about that. That's the tackle flexibility that maybe you wanted with Alex Leatherwood as like a hybrid guard tackle, but Vera Tucker's actually good. So there's that. The Dolphins are in an interesting spot. Again, it kind of comes down to how much do you focus on last year versus this year in terms of needs. And for the Dolphins, I kind of just want to go best player available. And to me, based off his play last season, that's got to be JOK, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. He was so good last year for the Browns as well. He dropped in the draft due to a heart condition, but he seems to be completely fine. So I see no reason why he should drop out of the top 20 picks. I think Washington Commanders now would be pretty upset that he's not still available, but I just don't really see any reason why he should fall further than this. No Jalen Phillips on the board, no Jalen Waddle on the board. It got Rashawn Slater earlier. Yes, you can make an argument for a receiver, like Elijah Moore at this spot maybe, or even Rashad Bateman. Amon-Ra St. Brown was great last season, But to me, I think JOK just had to be the pick. But you could make an argument for a number of different guys. It's very understandable. For the Washington Commanders, I am going to end up going receiver here. It's one of their bigger needs in this year's draft, I would say. And based off draft type and performance when he was healthy last season, I think Rashad Bateman makes a ton of sense at 19. Like Rashad Bateman, again, you could make an argument for a number of other receivers at this spot. Elijah Moore, Amon-Ra St. Brown, like really, really good. Kadarius Toney, when he was healthy, he had 189 yards receiving versus the Cowboys in a game. And that's something that kind of flies under the radar because he wasn't healthy a lot. And he threw a punch and got ejected from that game. But he had 189 yards receiving. Like, Kadarius Toney, when healthy, is great, but how do you value that injury? Like, J.C. Horn is still on the board because we didn't really see what he could do. And that will drop you when other players play better when you're not available. Now, I could really see Tevin Jenkins here to the Bears at 20. He went to them in the second round. I could see any of these great offensive linemen because the Bears' offensive line really isn't great. I'm going to make the unsexy pick here, and I'm going to go with Davis Mills. I think he played his way into the first round of this redraft based off of where expectations were and then playing with the Texans, who obviously were not great. But if you watch Davis Mills play, you could absolutely rationalize his pick here. The Bears don't get Justin Fields in this redraft because they would have had to move up for him. And yeah, I think people are going to see Davis Mills first round, top 20, and be like, that seems crazy. But it's quarterback, it's super valuable, and he was way better than anyone would have ever expected last year for a third round pick, playing on the Houston Texans. Absolutely worthy of this top 20 selection, even if it's not like the sexy pick, if you want to call it that. For the Colts, I like Kwity Paye, but Odafe Owe was in that conversation for one of the best rookie edges. Like, obviously Micah Parsons, but he did a little bit more than just playing a true edge all the time. Played some linebacker as well, especially on the outside, but he was really a rush linebacker a lot of the time. And Jalen Phillips is also really, really good. But Owe is right in that conversation as well. Just going to go a few picks after Jalen Phillips. And yeah, I do like Kwity Paye as well, but Odafe Owe was really, really solid. Also, I think worthy of this top 21 pick. I'm going to go wide receiver for the Titans. And I think based off of how creative their offense can get, they'd love a player like Kadarius Toney or Elijah Moore. And I think for me, Elijah Moore is going to end up being the guy at 22. Love the Ole Miss combo. A.J. Brown, Ole Miss receiver, as you guys will probably know. And it just feels like a pretty good selection for the Titans. Now, they could go a number of different spots with that. Like, I was really looking at O-line, but Elijah Moore, 22, right ahead of the Jets, I think makes a lot of sense for them. As we get to the Jets, who took Zach Wilson at 2. And, of course, Elijah Vera Tucker in the first round as well. Elijah Vera Tucker, not available. We're going to go with the next best thing, and that is Trey Smith. And I don't think the Jets would complain about that whatsoever because you get a really, really good interior offensive lineman. Again, with tackle flexibility like Elijah Vera Tucker has, but you don't even have to trade up to get him. 23 makes a ton of sense. Trey Smith fell in the draft again as well due to some injury stuff. I believe blood clots in his legs were the big concern, which, yeah, doesn't sound great, but his performance was great. He was incredible, and yeah, had to be the pick here. As we get to the Steelers at 24, listen, Najee Harris was good. Played behind no offensive line. Yes, under 4 yards per carry. Not great. 1,200 yards if we want to talk about the cumulative stats. I think Javonte Williams on a per carry basis was the best rookie running back pretty easily for me, but I'm not going running back here. To me, this absolutely has to be offensive line. Creed Humphrey last year was arguably the best center in the entire league. Right there in that conversation. And for the Steelers, it started Kendrick Green, a guard at center pretty much all of last season, who was not very good at center. They got to go Creed Humphrey. You're going to start a rookie center, but instead of having somebody that is replaceable, you get arguably the best one in the whole league, which sounds insane, but that's just how good Creed Humphrey was last year. He was fantastic. If I had been voting Rookie of the Year votes, certainly Creed Humphrey would have been in the top. Yes, I would have gone probably with Jamar Chase, but Humphrey deserves recognition. And yeah, he falls to 24. He is a center. Some of these teams just need other positions more, but Creed Humphrey is incredible. I cannot drop him any further than this. The Jags took Travis Etienne at this pick last year. I just don't really know why. Overall, I'd say this is a tough pick for the Jags, but in the end, I am going to go safety. And I'm going to go with Javon Holland. He was so good last year for the Dolphins. Jags do need an upgraded safety. They tried to do that with the draft last year, but of course, in the redraft, they don't have guys like Andre Sisco. So Javon Holland just makes the most sense to me. Upgrade over Andrew Wingard. And yeah, Trayvon Merrick was really good last year as well. Like, he's so good too, but Javon Holland was just a little bit better last year. He was so good, but Merrick also so good. It's tough. This is probably as far as I can drop JC Horn. Still might end up being a very good player, but it's just tough to know based off of him not playing really at all last year with the torn Achilles. Like JC Horn a lot. And yeah, him falling to 26 is not an indictment on his ability. It's more of just other players had great rookie seasons, and I want to highlight those a little bit more. But yeah, the Browns, who got Greg Newsome last year, still get a pretty good corner in JC Horn. Just, yeah, one that has some more question marks with the injury. Tough pick for the Ravens. I went with Rashad Bateman in real life. In the end, I kind of would like to go like tackle or guard. Like Landon Dickerson to me makes a lot of sense. But I'm going to end up going with Kwity Paye. I think he's a really good fit for the defense. He fits exactly what the Ravens are looking to do on the edge. That's a guy who can kind of move around a little bit as well. Really good run defender. I like Kwity Paye a ton. Him falling to 27 again is just, like I explained with JC Horn, just a product of the rest of the draft so far. I am going to go receiver for the Saints. I really want to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Just so good as a rookie. Instead, I am going to go with Kadarius Toney. A little bit more dynamic than St. Brown is. St. Brown had the overall better rookie year, I would say, because he stayed healthy, stayed on the field. Kadarius Toney certainly had higher highs. We're talking about a near 200-yard receiving game. And yeah, I keep pointing that out because in a rookie year, that is incredibly impressive. It's incredibly impressive for anybody. And you are banking on him staying healthy, which could end up being a big if. But I think Kadarius Toney still worthy of a first-round selection based off of what he did show in minimal opportunities, we'll say. Opportunities, maybe not quite the right word. Minimal, I don't want to say chances because it's redundant with opportunities, but just didn't play enough. But when he did play, he really showed the ability to be a first-round caliber player. We know the Packers absolutely need wide receiver. I am going to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown here. Again, I think he showed that he could be a first-round caliber player. Really like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Of course, Detroit Lions franchise guy, if you watched a lot of the channel this past year. And yeah, worthy of a first-round selection. Packers need receiver. No more Devontae Adams. And of course, we have to take that into account in this redraft at least a little bit. He's just the guy. I just couldn't live with him escaping the first round. I have to go Javonte Williams to the Bills here. I think a lot of you are not going to even fully be aware of how good Javonte Williams was last year for the Bills, but he was on a per carry basis one of the best running backs in the entire league. And yes, with a larger sample size, you'd expect him to be a little bit worse. So you'd take that for what it is. But on a per carry basis, few running backs in the league were even close to as good as Javonte Williams was. Let me show you a few things. From just looking at the numbers, like pure numbers, Javonte Williams, obviously, you can see pretty productive, 203 carries, which is significant. 903 yards, 4 touchdowns, average 4.4 per carry. But once you go into the advanced stats on Javonte Williams, it starts to be incredibly impressive. And in terms of yards per contact per attempt, Javonte Williams was 4th in the league with 50% of 359 rushing attempts. So that's over about 190. And you're probably thinking, hey, isn't that Elijah Mitchell for the Niners? Isn't he leading in all these? And that's a really good point. But unfortunately, in the only mock draft creator or simulator I could find for 2021, Elijah Mitchell is not even a draftable player. In fact, the only Raging Cajun is Trey Ragas. So you don't even have the option to draft Elijah Mitchell in this. But if you do want to make that Elijah Mitchell, I would say that's certainly a fair guy to take as well, because he was also an amazing rookie running back, kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't even expect him to really play for the Niners this past year. And not only did he play, he was incredible. So yeah, if you want to make that Elijah Mitchell, absolutely 100% agree with you on that point there. And believe me, I looked through a ton of mock draft simulators, but they've all been updated to 2022 or didn't have Elijah Mitchell as an option as far as I could tell. So sorry about that. Hopefully that doesn't ruin your immersion. But yeah, I still think Javonte Williams would be in play for that spot as well. And Najee Harris, it would stink to have him fall out of the first round. It's tough just finding the value of the running back position. So in real life, the Ravens went with Odafe Owe and Rashad Bateman. Here, went with Kwity Paye. So naturally, you think maybe a dress receiver. I don't love any of the options at this point to be first-round guys. And that's not to say that Rondale Moore wasn't good last year, or Dwayne Eskridge in some opportunities wasn't good last year, or Terrace Marshall can't be good. Same thing with Diami Brown. They drafted Tylan Wallace later in the draft. Like, obviously that's not true, but just for the sake of the redraft, probably not first-round guys. So I think going with arguably the best player available makes sense, and that's going to be Trayvon Merrick. Yes, they did sign Marcus Williams in free agency, this past free agency, or this current free agency, I should say. Merrick is so good and was so good last year, and they could play different roles. You could have Marcus Williams play over the top, Merrick more of a traditional strong safety role. You could move these guys around. You can get creative, and having two good safeties in the back end would be really important for this Ravens defense. Yes, they do have Chuck Clark. I think Merrick would be a better choice for them long-term very easily. And again, a player that's just too good to let him slip out of the first round, really. And you know, it's funny, there's so many good players that are still going to slip out of the first round in this redraft. You look at quarterback, yeah, there's not a ton here. But at running back, it's like Najee Harris. Do I put him here at 32? Travis Etienne, Michael Carter. I mean, we talked about Elijah Mitchell. At wide receiver, talked about some of those guys. Tight end, no one really in the conversation too much. At offensive tackle, Tevin Jenkins, Sam Cosmi. I think absolutely Spencer Brown would be in play in the first round. Interior offensive line. There are still some really good options available. Landon Dickerson probably is going to end up being the pick here. But you can make an argument for Christian Barmore, who is great as a rookie last year. Same thing with Osa Odigizua of the Cowboys. Great last year at edge. Azeez Ojulari could be warranting a first-round pick in this redraft. Joe Tryon was good last year. Greg Rousseau flashed at times last year at linebacker. Like, there are some good players here. Zaven Collins, absolutely. Jamin Davis. Like, these guys were first-round picks, and are they first-round picks in the redraft? You look at Ernest Jones, who played great for the Rams down the stretch, especially in the playoffs. At corner, like Eric Stokes was really good. Asante Samuel Jr. played well. Elijah Molden, as a do-it-all guy for the Titans, played well. Caleb Farley, injury. And then at safety, probably no one else in that conversation. But there's only one more spot here in the first round. So who does it end up being? I am going to end up going with Landon Dickerson. Did play well for the Eagles last year, as I was reminded many times in the regrading the NFL draft of last season a year later. And yeah, I for some reason, I had thought that Isaac Seumalo was playing way more, but that was 2 years ago as opposed to last year. And Landon Dickerson, yeah, played well. So absolutely going to give him credit here and make him a first-round pick at left guard for the Bucs, who need the position. You could make an argument for a number of things. I honestly wouldn't hate taking an edge rusher like they did in real life with Joe Tryon, Shoenka, or Azeez Ojulari, Rousseau. You know, you could make an argument for a number of different guys here. Corner as well. It sucks that, you know, some of these guys are still on the board, but not everybody can be a first-round pick in the redraft. And I think if you don't have these quarterbacks going in the first round, you're doing something wrong, because Davis Mills warrants a first-round selection now. Mac Jones had to stay in the first round. Despite his play, you can't give up on these quarterbacks so early. Justin Fields, still a first-round guy. I have him at 4. Some of you are going to think that's way too early. I don't care. It's a potential franchise quarterback at number 4. Can't base his rookie year playing with Matt Nagy and the rest of the Bears with no offensive line and say he's not going to be good. Could he end up being a bust? Yeah, absolutely could happen, but I don't think it will with Justin Fields. He is really, really talented, and in my opinion, worthy of a top 4 selection. Of course, gonna have a lot of discord in the comment section below, and let me know what you think. Of course, be sure to read through all those with a smile on my face, regardless. But thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy. Back to the house, defensive joke, I'm laughing so loud.